In today's video, we'll be sharing how we decided where to travel this summer during COVID-19.
We're full-time travelers who've been sheltering in place since the pandemic hit and borders closed, but we're finally ready to travel again.
Stay with us till the end to find out which country we've decided to go to.
Welcome back for another episode. If you're new to the channel, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Gillian. We're a couple who sold everything we owned, packed our bags, and headed off for a life of slow travel. If you're interested in how-tos for slow travel, you can subscribe for a new episode every Thursday.
If you saw last week's video, which we'll link in the description below, you'll know that after 3.5 months in Toronto, Canada, we finally decided to get back on the road again. There are many borders that are now open to Canadians, so the question is, where should we go?
So today we're going to get into how our travels ground to a halt when COVID hit, how we managed to get back to Canada during the height of the pandemic, and finally, our criteria for choosing our next destination.
But first, a quick question for everyone who's watching. Which country is at the very top of your list when the borders are finally fully open and you're free to travel? Let everyone know in the comments below.
If you've been following our story, you'll know that we left Singapore in 2019 after reaching financial independence. This was all part of our big dream of retiring early and traveling full-time across Europe and beyond, and we were pretty excited about it. Well, I'm feeling a little bit in shock right now. I sent off all my handover notes earlier and handed in my laptop, and that's it. I'm done working at a desk forever.
So we wanted to see more of Europe, and specifically Eastern Europe, because we hadn't really spent any time in that part of the world, and we were very attracted by the low cost of living. So all in all, we thought this would be a great place to kick off our early retirement.
We started off with a direct flight to Poland, then we made our way to the Ukraine, and then down to Turkey for almost 3 months before landing in Italy, where we were supposed to stay for 2 months. From Italy, we were planning to take a ferry to Croatia, and then we would slow travel through the Balkans for the next several months. But of course, none of that happened.
Instead, we happened to be in Italy just at the same time as when the pandemic exploded there. Once we realized how serious the situation was, and of course, once that national quarantine went into effect, we did try to leave.
As we flee the scene here in Italy, which has entered a quarantine, not nationwide as of yesterday, and today with other countries shutting their borders, we decided it's time to buy a plane ticket and get on out of here. We were very optimistic in that video about being able to leave Italy. However, the borders closed overnight and we found ourselves taking shelter for a month at a friend's holiday home in northern Italy. And if you want to see the whole story of us getting stuck in Italy, you can check out the video linked below, and we'll have all of the videos we mentioned today linked in the description.
Lake Como was an absolutely beautiful place to be stuck for a month. However, our visas were running out and the seriousness of the global situation was really starting to sink in. So we realized that ultimately the best place for us to be was back in Canada with our friends and family. So we made the decision to come back to Canada on one of the rescue flights that was still being run by Air Canada. And we were really nervous about it given that there were so many cancellations at the time and so many planes being grounded. Every indication is that the flights will be running. So we did check every couple days leading up to our actual flight, but it's the flight crew is going on board right now. We can see them. So it appears that we won't have any problem at least getting to Frankfurt, and then we're really hoping that it's smooth sailing from there. Fortunately, everything went well and we made it back to Canada in one piece.
Since then, we've been sheltering in place in Toronto. On the plus side, this has been a great opportunity to connect with friends and family and spend a summer in Toronto, which we haven't had in 7 years.
Of course, during this whole time, we've been watching the news and waiting to hear when borders might finally open again. And that news finally came on July 1st.
That's when the EU made their big announcement of which countries they were recommending to be allowed into the EU, and Canada was on that list. So suddenly, the doors were open again. And with that, we decided to get back on the road, although we didn't take this decision lightly.
As we talked about in last week's video, we have many reasons to not travel right now. First of all, our family is here in Canada. Canada is our home country and we can stay as long as we like. And finally, and most seriously, there is still a pandemic going on right now.
But we also had reasons to start traveling again. We don't have any permanent home in Canada, and we're not ready to settle here long term.
And there are other reasons why we should start traveling again. As we mentioned, countries are opening their borders again and trying to get their economies back on track, so we can participate in that. Finally, the pandemic really is the new reality. So just like everyone else, we need to find ways to adapt and move forward with our lives while working around it.
Of course, we're not just going to pick any country to go to. We came up with some strict criteria for ourselves.
So whichever country we go to, it needs to be open to Canadians, of course, ideally in Europe, because we would love to be able to pick up on our journey where we left off. Additionally, it does need to have very low rates of COVID.
And we were also looking for somewhere with a lower cost of living than Canada's most expensive city. As we talked about in our last cost of living video, we found that our dollar goes much further in Europe compared with Toronto.
That brings us to the question, which countries meet all of these criteria? For that, we turn to a very helpful website called Travel Off Path, and they've been doing an amazing job tracking all of the border reopenings. Based on the latest information that we had at the time of booking the destination, we shortlisted 7 countries: Croatia, Greece, Montenegro, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, and Spain.
Once we had the short list, there was one more criteria. Can we fly direct? Flying direct was important to us because it would minimize the number of transit points and contact with different people.
Despite all the border reopenings, not all airlines are flying to all destinations right now, so we were really stuck with wherever Air Canada was going. That left us with 3 countries on the list: Greece, Portugal, and Spain.
First of all, we had to decide against Portugal. Even though we would love to go there, we were actually hearing some conflicting information about whether it was actually open or not, because Canada was not reciprocating by letting Portuguese citizens in, so we were a little worried we might be turned away at the airport, which happened to some Canadians we heard about.
We were also interested in going to Spain, but ultimately we had to decide against it. First, it had very high incidence of COVID rates, and secondly, the cost of living in Spain is actually much higher than everywhere else on our list.
That left us with Greece as our number 1 choice, which was actually one of the first countries to actively welcome back tourists. And it also appeared in our travel bucket list, so we're pretty excited to head there.
So that's our plan. We are restarting our life of slow travel by heading off to Greece. We've decided to stay for a full month in Athens, but haven't made any other plans as yet.
We know the situation will continue to evolve, so we're going to stay flexible and not plan too far ahead.
So the next time we see you, we will be coming to you directly from Athens, Greece. In the meantime, if you would like to know what our first 6 months of travel was like, we recommend watching this video right here.
And if you enjoyed this video, it would help us out if you hit that like button and also subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back next time. So we need to stay flexible and on our toes like cats.